what's difficult to measure is how do you make someone care? How do you make someone feel connected?
How much of that is what you're doing from a data-driven perspective? And then how much of that is just really just human and emotional and people-driven?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say that
today on the pod, we're speaking to Pedro Araujo. He's a CMO of Orlando City Soccer and Orlando Pride, the two football soccer franchises here in the city of Orlando. Even though we're talking about sports, he's going to help us to see how the importance of a good experience matters, whether it's sport or in any other industry. We're going to delve into the importance of getting feedback and using that feedback to make a better experience. And then we're going to talk about technology and how technology really enables it and it empowers all the wonderful things he's doing with these two great franchises. We're excited as always. Let's get started. Pedro, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. We're really excited to talk to you and excited to talk about the world of sports when it comes to digital experience. So thank you again.
Yeah, well, Christian, we're excited to be on the podcast. Thanks for the invite.
Well, we know you spent quite a bit of time now working with Orlando City Soccer and Orlando Pride, two of the great franchises when it comes to soccer here in the U.S., and a lot of the work that you do, as we've already alluded to, is around fans, right? Making sure that that experience is great for the fan. And there's just so many touch points when it comes to major sports. You mentioned that you had worked a lot with Boston Consulting Group and that they really helped you to understand things from the fan perspective. That research you did, how has that impacted the digital experience that you're trying to create for your fan base?
Yeah, so the league, Major League Soccer at the league level, saw a need to really understand what are the core fan needs, what are fans looking for, and what makes them become a fan or become a more engaged fan of a particular club or the league as a whole. So there was a study that started back, I want to say 5-6 years ago, even longer than that, with Boston Consulting Group, where the league developed a framework with Boston Consulting Group to identify key fan needs that then we would measure year after year to see how clubs were performing against some of those needs. One of them, a few of them that I think are critical and that we took to heart, especially from my seat. Some of the needs are related to competition, right? So it's not something that I would influence from my seat. It's about how are we playing in championship games? How often are we going to playoffs? Like how often are we playing games of consequence? But then you have the other needs that are more related to fan development, right? You talk about, for example, the match experience. What does the match day experience look like? Or how are we fomenting rivalries? So when we're playing those teams, those games are more of consequence, right? Or the media quality, everything from how our games are broadcasted to how our games and our players are portrayed on digital platforms, whether it's social media or website or apps, et cetera, right? Those are kind of some of the examples of like business-driven needs that we really focus on a lot. When it comes to match day experience, even though as a physical experience of coming to the stadium, there are a lot of digital components to that, right? Whether those are experiences that are integrated within our app, for example, our halftime light shows that you pull your phone and then your phone kind of interacts with everybody in the building, or everything that we do on our digital video boards and how that interacts with the fans in the stadium. We have touchscreen monitors throughout the stadium where you can go through experiences, whether it's a selfie station or you can navigate through the history of all of our jerseys. So you really get embedded into kind of the history of our club. So we're always trying to think about, okay, these are core fan needs. We really want to build a best-in-class match day experience. We really want to make sure that we are fomenting rivalries through our digital channels, amplifying those rivalries. And we also want to make sure that our media quality is fantastic and the fans that maybe can't be in our building are experiencing our matches just as well, as just in an exciting way as it is being in a building and kind of living that firsthand. So that's kind of, those are the ones that I would say we've focused on over the years.
That's outstanding. I know that one of the things you mentioned was that kind of your true north metric is really about club attachment, right? That all those different things you're doing, all those various touch points are really about making that connection, that loyalty really of fans to the clubs that are existing in the Orlando market. As you think about club attachment, how much of that is what you're doing from a data-driven perspective of the metrics you're seeing? and how much of that is just really just human and emotional and people driven? Because I know there's a lot of overlap there when it comes to sports, especially.
It's a fine balance. I mean, we have several metrics that we track to understand how engaged fans are, right? Everything from how many jerseys we're selling, because that is a great indicator of fandom, right? To, how many people new people are entering our database in terms of like how much we're growing our fan base, right? From a data specific standpoint, how many people are following across our digital channels, and how many people what's our engagement rate, like our followership versus engagement, and what can we monitor that to see how it's shifting, right? Those are kind of all different ways. We have match day surveys, we have yearly surveys that we survey the market as it relates to brand awareness and sentiment towards our club. So there are a few different metrics that we keep a pulse on that I think can be more data driven, more specific. But at the end of the day, what's difficult to measure is how do you make someone care? How do you make someone feel connected? That is the thing that it's really hard to just like have essentially a prescribed way of doing it. It's different for each person, right? So one thing that we try to do that we believe deeply in is be authentic to the city that we represent, right? What does it mean to be authentic to Orlando? I think it means everything from making sure that our culture as it relates to arts and music and fashion, everything that we do represents our city, our geography, the history of Florida, the history of Orlando. So we're very intentional about that, from the artists that we partner with to do our match day posters or murals in the stadium, to the music that we select, that we curate for our match day experience or for our digital channels, for our videos, or to like the inspiration that we take from our neighborhoods in our city to design our jerseys or to design our graphics, right? Like all of that, I think matters when it comes to like making people care and feel represented by a club. At the end of the day, our club, we're essentially the flag bearers of our city, right? We're trust. We represent the people, even though we're privately owned. We represent the people that live in our city. We want them to feel proud of how we represent them on a national or global stage. So that's what we strive to do, and that's how we believe we can create fandom, right, and club attachment over time.
That makes a lot of sense. It's interesting because, as you mentioned, sports is such an emotional thing, right? You want people to really be invested in the team. You want them to care about the team successes. And that's why people like sports, right? It's the ups and the downs. It's that emotional roller coaster that sports takes you on that gets people so invested. And yet, obviously, being in the 21st century, we live in a world where so much of that experience is driven by technology. It's driven by this infrastructure that you have to better understand your fan and to better deliver this experience, whether, as you mentioned, it's actually at the stadium itself or even on their mobile phone, and making sure that experience stays very consistent. And it makes me think, man, there must be some great infrastructure from a technology and from a data standpoint in order to make sure that you're able to maintain that kind of consistent experience across wherever those various touch points are for the fans. When you think about your tech stack, what elements really are the key parts of making sure that you're able to deliver that consistent experience?
Yeah, I mean, our MarTech it's a space that we've continuously evolved and dedicated resources to because it is critical. We have 10 plus partners across a variety of different areas, everything from Core, who is our CRM, data warehouse management partner. They help us also with segmentation. They have a tool that's kind of layers over our CRM. It helps us segment fans and understand, okay, what kind of channels should we use to reach them? What kind of email journey should we create? What kind of SMS campaigns should we create and who should we target? So Core is a big partner of ours. Salesforce is also a big partner. Our entire app is built on Salesforce, so it gives us a lot of data of everything that our fans do within our apps, whether it's articles they're clicking or products they're buying or how much time of videos are they watching. So Salesforce is another important element of our stack. Then we have other partners. We have Alive5, which is our SMS platform, as well as our chat bot on our website that really allows us to convert, especially in this day and age where people are getting flooded by emails. Text messages have become really, really important as it relates to conversion. We have partners on the digital space. For example, Blinkfire is our social media analytics tool that really allows us to understand, okay, what posts are performing the most, what are people engaging with, so we can continue to fine tune our content. We have Slate, which is a really cool platform that allows our content creators to load all of our brand assets to their mobile devices, and then they can cover everything from their phones and add overlays of whether it's our own font or our logos, all on the go as they're shooting live content and vertical video. So that's another example of like just elevating the quality of our content production. On the PR side, we work with Cision to understand how do we measure our media coverage and how do we monitor everything all the coverage that we're getting across all of our teams. So it gives us a lot of data and analytics about that as well. So we have at a stadium level, we have a captive portal that helps us fill in the gaps. Although we're a mobile-only venue, so we essentially know most of the people that are coming into our building that bought tickets before they get here. There's always tickets that get transferred, people that are part of a bigger account, right? One person bought it, but 10 people are coming with that person. So captive portal allows us to really fill in those gaps and get those people that maybe didn't buy the ticket but are in our building into our database, so we can put them through journeys, right? Whether that's a new to file journey, or that's a mini plan journey, or that's a newsletter journey, right? And kind of start working them down the funnel.
That's a tremendous tech stack. It makes me wonder how much of that tech stack is Orlando City Soccer and Orlando Pride purely, and how much of that is the leagues and what the leagues are doing to support the promotion of the sport.
Yeah, some tools we do have access to at the league level. So every club kind of gets the benefit of kind of the economy of scale, the league negotiating on behalf of all the clubs, and we get access to that. One example is Salesforce Marketing Cloud, which is our email automation, our email platform that we have access. Every team in the league has access to that platform. I think there aren't many tools that way. Like most of our tech stack is partners that we've partnered at the local level, but we always have discussions with the league. Like what are they doing at the league level? Who are their partners? Is there an opportunity to have economies of scale, or what's their experience with that partner? Should we consider that partner, even if it's at the local level, right? If we're negotiating then separately, is that a partner that has delivered a lot of value, or a tool that has delivered a lot of value to the league? So we're in constant communication with them to really share best practices, which I think is one of the greatest things about having this kind of single entity league model. Is the league plays a huge role in sharing best practices with the teams, right? Whether it's best practices from what their experience as a league, or best practices that they're collecting from other teams and then like sharing with across the board to just elevate everyone's tech stack or quality fan engagement, right?
That's awesome, because it kind of gives you really the best of both worlds, right? You get the backing and the knowledge and the intelligence that comes from the larger league, but you also have enough latitude to explore things on your own and say, well, what tools make sense for what we're trying to do here in this market and for our particular fan base, and how we're trying to really engage and promote that fan base. So I think that's really an awesome model. It makes me think about the importance of innovation, because so many of the things that you are doing are very much innovative and trying to make sure that you're keeping things fresh from engaging the fan base. How much time do you feel like you spend experimenting, testing out, kind of iterating and trying to innovate when it comes to these various digital touch points?
We like to think that that's always something in the back of our minds, that we're always talking to new potential partners. We're lucky to have great owners in the Wolf family. They also have an arm that's called Wise that only focuses on investment in sports and entertainment technology. So essentially, it's a kind of a venture capital arm of their group, and we benefit from their exploration, right? So when something comes across their desk that they're looking to potentially invest, or a pitch that's come to them, they come to us and say, hey, have you heard of these guys? Hey, are you interested in this product? Do you want to take a call? Do you want to go through a demo? And I think that just keeps us at the forefront. Slate is a great example. That's a platform that came through the Wise Ventures. And we were like, well, that's really cool. I think it could save us, our content creators, a lot of time. It could allow us to have more brand consistency when it comes to content creation. So then we went on, we've had a 2 to 3 year partnership with them now. So we're constantly vetting new technology that's coming through, and understanding, because you also don't want to invest in technology for the sake of investing in it, right? We have a limited budget, and we need to make sure that that's going to deliver an ROI. And typically, these technologies sometimes require significant investment, and we need to make sure that that's delivering our core business, whether that's selling tickets, building fandom, helping deliver value to partners and sponsorships. So we're always kind of looking through these new potential partnerships through those lenses.
I'm so happy you said that, Pedro. That's so important for marketers to hear because sometimes we do get caught up in this wheel of technology for technology's sake, of just thinking this is kind of the shiny new thing and this is what everyone else is doing. So this is what I need to be doing. And I need to invest in that and spend money on that. But then to your point, they're not able to kind of quantify the value of this and say, well, what ROI is this driving for me? Is it driving for my customer? In your case, your fan base? Is it bringing value to our processes? Like, what is it doing for the experience that you can say, okay, this is worth the investment of our time and resources and energy to use a tool like this? And because you use such a wide variety of tools, I can see why it's so important that you make sure, hey, let's quantify this because we have a fixed wallet. We only have so much money to spend here. There are so many fans, so many different ways to engage with them and touch them that you really need to be smart about that. It's interesting because that makes me think about, do you find that it's a challenge sometimes with balancing that, especially when on the one hand, you're dealing with Orlando City Soccer, you're dealing with MLS, which is a much larger league, a bit more mature, you might say, from a digital standpoint, versus maybe a smaller league on the Orlando Pride side that doesn't have quite the resources coming from the National Women's Soccer League and what they're able to do. Is that a bit of a balancing act in terms of what you can do on one side versus the other side?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we even goes beyond those two leagues, because for us, our owners also own a team in the NFL, right, in the Minnesota Vikings. So they have certain expectations, and the Vikings can invest in certain things that we're just not at that level of resources, right? So although some of those technologies are really cool and like we can see that it would deliver some value, is that the most critical investment we need to make is what we need to think about, because yes, we have limited resources, and yes, that's a nice to have, and it could deliver more fan engagement, it could deliver a little bit of additional value, but is that enough to warrant that level of investment? Is something that we're always going through, right? There are several tools that the Vikings invest in and have access to that we're just not able to invest yet. And I think that's the same applies between MLS and WSL, although I think it's a great benefit of being a kind of multi-club ownership under one umbrella for Pride and City, because a lot of the tools that we sign up for, we can use for both teams. We don't get as much resources and access to resources through NWSL as much as we do through MLS. To your point, it's a more mature league, so they're much more evolved as it relates to their MarTech stack or even the digital strategy. But everything that we partner with at the local level, we try to make sure that those tools could work for both teams and could deliver value for both teams.
That's great to hear. And I like the fact that, I mean, as long as you look through the lens of what can bring value within the confines of what you're able to do, whether it's based in the league or whether it's based on your budget, and that you don't kind of get too lofty, right? Because it's funny, you described really three tiers, right? So you've got this NFL team, which, one of the, largest leagues in the world in the NFL. Then you've got kind of MLS, not quite as large. And then you've got the NWSL. So you kind of have to operate on three different levels and not let kind of one thing dominate the other in such a way that it puts you in a bad position. And by extension, it ends up putting your fans in a bad position, right? Because now you're not able to meet expectations in a realistic and proper way.
Yeah, it's about understanding where you are as a business and what are the key business priorities at that moment in time for each one of these growth stages that these teams and leagues are going through, right?
So thinking about those priorities, I know one of the things you alluded to was having a lot of places where you're getting feedback from the fans, right? So obviously the fans are helping to drive those priorities based on their feedback. You mentioned that you distribute surveys to the fans, get their feedback that way. How much of what they're telling you, that input they're giving you, affects the strategies in terms of how you're going to engage with them from a digital standpoint?
Oh, it's critical. I mean, that really drives our strategy, right? At the end of the day, we're very fan first. That's one of our core values. One of our objectives is to filter every decision through a fan first lens, right? They are our customers. We're customer centric. And I think, fans have great ideas. Like they're experiencing the product. Like sometimes we're here every day and like well we kind of have a bias towards the experience and it's hard to step away and experience our games as a true fan. So really making sure you go back to the basics and you hear the people that either experience it for the first time or they're experiencing if they're season ticket members every night, and providing real-time feedback and very, very important feedback. So whether that's the match day surveys that we run after every game that we host here, or the season ticket member surveys that we run once or twice a year, or even just social listening throughout all of our channels, right? Or even talking to our member experience representatives. We're on the phone with our season ticket members. They're hearing sometimes their complaints or their praises. Having that kind of one-to-one contact, that's all super valuable. That is part of what we do. We filter, we look at trends, right? What are some of these comments? Are we seeing a trend? We look at specific incident that might have been isolated to a specific match and to understand, is this something that just happened to be out of the ordinary? Is this something we need to really take care of moving forward? So there's so many things as it relates to our jersey designs. We meet with our recognized supporter groups, which is our most hardcore fans, every month to talk about a variety of topics as well, to understand how they're seeing the experience, how they're seeing everything that's happening in the club. We have season ticket member town halls as well, where we listen to season ticket members and we talk about a variety of topics in person. So that we're constantly searching for feedback, because I think that is a core of what drives our strategy. We believe that the club, revenues will follow if fans are having a great experience. They feel like they're represented, where the business will do well if fans are enjoying it, feel like we are delivering on their expectations.
I love hearing that. That's really the way to think about it, right? It's just if we're delivering a good experience, if we're delivering a good product, then the revenue is going to come, right? It's not something that you have to search for. It's just a logical development of being able to deliver that positive and good experience. And I love hearing you say that. So much of it, again, as we mentioned, and as you reiterated again beautifully, is related to that emotional aspect of what's happening and the loyalty that, again, the fan attachment that happens from that. Do you also find that you also, though, have to spend time on the more practical aspects of it? So just friction points. How easy is it for a fan to buy a ticket? How easy is it for them to get admission to the stadium? Just how easy is it for them to maybe use one of the vendors at the stadium to buy a jersey or to get some refreshments? Like, how much of it is just saying, hey, are we making just the practical aspects of this as easy and smooth as possible to keep the fans on that emotional high throughout the experience?
Absolutely. I mean, we just went through a revamp of our homepage on our website to really think through what are the most frictionless way to get the fans that are looking for tickets to buy the product that they're looking for. So we've added everything from countdown clocks to our next match with like a ticket button right next to it, so you know what's coming, right? So it's right in your face, and it's almost like this feeling that like I don't want to miss out on this match that's coming up. We've added a carousel that you can slide through our entire schedule right on the homepage, so you can go through the entire season like without leaving the homepage environment, without even have to go below the fold, right? Like so, all those things we've made sure that there are 4 placements for our main news. So if you're going to the website, you don't even need to scroll, and you have all our 4 most important articles of what's happening with the club right there, and you can read through that. So there's content as well, in addition to just trying to convert people. There's also content right in your face. So there's a reason for you to be going to that destination, right? So we're always looking for this. SMS marketing was another way for us to be more practical, because we felt like we were getting a lot more conversion than email. So we invested more in that platform. So yeah, we're always looking for ways to make sure that the experience is frictionless, especially as it relates to getting to the conversion of the product, which is typically ticket sales. We've worked with Ticketmaster, which is our ticket provider, to create a virtual venue. So you can go, when you go to Ticketmaster, you can see the exact view from every seat in our stadium. So you know exactly where you're buying into. And when you look at the price difference and the price breaks, you know why, right? Because you're seeing a difference in seats, right? So all those things are really important as it relates to the digital experience for us.
Do you find that you have to maybe look through a different lens or adjust, adapt, or even tweak that digital experience based on the audiences for Orlando City Soccer, the men's team versus Orlando Pride, the women's team? Do you find different demographics there that cause, or psychographics even, that cause you to have to kind of deal with those audiences slightly differently?
Yeah, they're very different fan bases. Geographically, the Pride typically tends to cast a wider net, so fans tend to travel farther for the Pride for many reasons. Why? One, because we're the only NWSL team in the state of Florida, so we have like a bigger radius. If you're looking for an NWSL team to attend a live match. Two, because I think NWSL is the best league, women's soccer league in the world. So a lot of people from other states and other countries are following us. We have the best players in the world, right? When you look at our roster specifically, FIFA, which is the governing body of soccer national now globally, they select 11 players every year, which are essentially their best 11 players for men's and women's soccer. We had 2 out of the 11 on our roster. So Marta, Brazilian midfielder, and Barba Banda, Zambian striker, were both voted to be in the best 11 globally. So that just speaks to, and there are more in that best 11 that play in the NWSL and other teams. So it just speaks to the quality of our league. So that attracts just a national and global audience, whereas the NWSL or the MLS, is a little bit more hyper local, right? One, because we have another team down south in South Florida, we have another team in Atlanta. So in the league is still like competing to get to kind of that top tier and evolving to get there. We don't have necessarily the best players in the world right now. So it's a little bit different of a strategy, a little bit different of a demo. Obviously, MLS skews more male, NWSL skews more female. So it's a little bit of a different audience for sure. And that certainly drives our strategy when it comes to how we're marketing, where are we marketing, what is converting, like how can we also monetize, in the case of NWSL and the Pride, this national global audience versus just focusing on the stadium product, which is for cities very much kind of our focus is the core, is making sure that we're relevant locally, making sure that we dominate Central Florida, right? So there's a little bit of a difference in how we approach both teams for sure.
Wow, I could really see your job. You always have to be of two minds sometimes in terms of how you're really kind of attacking things from each front. It's great to have, as you mentioned, economies of scale, at least to some degree from a technology standpoint. But as you also mentioned very clearly and very nicely, it's not about the technology. It's about what you're using it to accomplish, right? What you're doing. Technology is an enabler. It's an accelerator. It's not the end all be all. And how you're dealing with one audience is very markedly different. I can see now, even in ways that I didn't even imagine, and versus how you're dealing with the other audience. So it's really fascinating in terms of how you're really understanding those various demographics and those different segments within those demographics and trying your best to deal with them accordingly. That way you're creating that greatest degree of fan attachment, right? You're really maximizing that to the best of your ability for the sake of both clubs that you're able to manage. So let me ask you a kind of some conjecture here. I'm sure you love it at Orlando City Soccer and working with Orlando Pride, but let's just say, you all of a sudden found yourself in the position to be with another team, maybe in a completely different league. Maybe it's maybe it's basketball, maybe it's football, wherever the case happens to be. What are kind of those key learnings that you have from this experience that you would say, you know what, no matter what the sport is, no matter what the league is, here are these pillars, here are these things I would really take with me. And, day one, these would be maybe the 2 or 3 things I would make sure to focus on, because I really believe that this just translates across the fan experience, across sports.
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say that one thing that I think I take pride in working for, especially a soccer team in the U.S. and NWSL, MLS, is that we're challenger leagues and therefore we're challenger brands, right? And I think with challenger brands, you have to be more creative and you have to be resourceful, right? To be able to capture the attention of a new audience or even keep the attention of your current audience. Whereas a legacy brand, whether it's the New York Yankees, right, or the Red Sox or the Patriots or the Cowboys, right? They have a totally different strategy, and I think it's a little bit more comfortable. It's more kind of maintenance, right? So I think working for a challenger brand really gives you that edge of kind of being creative and pushing the boundaries. So I think I would take that with me wherever I go, and having that experience, and he's been fantastic. I think also soccer is a very global sport. So, and as you look at some of the other US leagues, whether it's the NBA or the NFL, they're now entering this internationalization stage. I think the NBA has been at it for maybe the last decade. Now the NFL over the last 5 years has made a more, just a stronger push, and it's made more of a focus for the league. So I think understanding the global landscape as we do when we work in soccer can be very valuable to those American leagues as they look to enter these other, especially soccer crazy markets, right? Whether it's the UK or South America or anywhere in Europe for that matter. So I think that's something that is transferable as well, and that I think I could take to a potential job in another U.S. sports league. Yeah, so I'd say probably those two things are top of mind for me. I think, as we talked about earlier, I think building fandom is similar across different sports. When you look at fan needs, a lot of those fan needs apply to other sports as well. Also was privileged enough to work for Octagon, which is a leading sports marketing agency, for 6 years. And they have something similar to fan needs, what they call passion drivers. And they apply that to different sports as well. What are the drivers that really make fans care about any given sport? So I think that's something that I took from Octagon to this job, and I think I will certainly carry it to any other job. Just understanding essentially just the approach, right, of really trying to figure out what drives fandom. Right? I think that is something that you need to do wherever you go when you work in sports.
What I love most about this conversation, Pedro, is that there's not one thing you've said that in principle doesn't apply no matter what the product is, right? I mean, whether you're selling a sports team, whether you're selling any kind of widget, you're selling a car, you're selling a vacation, it's all the same thing. It's what are those emotional drivers, because people make decisions based on emotions. It's how are we building loyalty, how are we delivering a good experience, and how do all those things culminate in terms of making that attachment so that people end up spending their money and saying, hey, this is where I want to spend my time and my money. And that's how the revenue comes, right? Because you're delivering that attachment, you're delivering the kind of experience that people want, and you're leveraging technology in the right way as a means to enable and accelerate what you're trying to do based on what people are telling you, the feedback that's coming into you of how they want to be communicated to, how they want to experience your particular product, in this case, a great sporting event. So I really thank you for that. I thank you for the insights that you've given to our audience, the marketers that are listening right now. And I want to thank you again for your time on our podcast today.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Enjoyed it. Hopefully this will be valuable for other people watching. I'm looking forward to watching other episodes as well to learn from other marketers.
Thanks, Pedro.